Hi, welcome to Tea with Lori, and guess who's my guest again this week? It's Eva Rupert. I'm so excited. Yeah, hi, Eva.
Hi,
Uh,
Lori. How are you?
I'm great. It's so good to be back with you. We've gotten so much wonderful feedback on our last Tea with Lori and the conversation we had together. And oh my gosh, we already have a couple people that are talking and chatting with us. So please, if you have any questions or anything that you want to say, there's the chat bar up that you should be able to see, and just send us little notes and we'll respond or say hi to you soon. So anyway, we're going to get into things pretty quickly because Eve and I are have so much to talk about. Tonight it's about your relationship with your art. Every production of an artist Oops, we're going quick here. Every production of an artist should be the expression of an adventure of his soul. I love that quote. So anyway, we're going to go to my next slide, which is a sunrise picture. Many of you know that, or if you're following me on Instagram, that I spent 10 days in the Bahamas, and every morning I got up for sunrise, and it was so meditative. So I think we're not going to do a long meditation today. What we are going to do is just let everyone, it gives people that are running a little late a little bit of a chance to just kind of come in and settle down. So if you all just will kind of close your eyes, and we're just going to do like 4 deep breaths, and just so that we can arrive, because we're talking on a topic that is really near and dear to Eva and to me, and it's very poignant to us as creatives. So just feel yourself really relaxed in your seat, and let's take 4 really deep breaths. So deep breath in through your nose, exhale through your mouth. Deep breath in through your nose. And as you exhale, just feel your day just loosening, letting it go, and just feel really relaxed. Deep breath in through your nose. And as you exhale through your mouth, just let go even more. Feel yourself really in your seat. Just feel your whole body just simmering down and being quiet. Another deep breath in. Exhale out. So hi, everybody. Thank you for being with us. I'm going to start with a wonderful quote. As most of you know, when I teach a class, we all pull quotes at the beginning of the class and always get the ones we need. So the quote today is, "In the depth of winter, I finally learned that there was in me an invincible summer." Albert Camus, excuse me, I said that wrong. But anyway, I love that, and I think that's really so relative to what we are going to be talking about today. So I want to just diverge just a second. I took a trip to the Bahamas. Some of you know that I've been through a real lot the past actually 5 months. Some of you do not know this, but I hurt my foot and I walked on it for 5 weeks not knowing it was broken. I actually taught and went to Dallas and a couple other places. And then my father passed away about 3 weeks ago. So it's been a very intense time. And I was going to go to the Bahamas, and then I decided it was just too much for me. And my son said, "You got to go. You got to learn how to grieve, and you need to relax, and you need to get back into your body." So I went to the Bahamas, and it was a very vulnerable time. And one of the reasons I don't usually share a lot of my personal stories, but it's really important because we all have vulnerability, and vulnerability is where a lot of our art comes from. And, you know, we're talking about our relationships with our art, which is really about our relationships with ourselves. And I was so disconnected from myself with all the trauma that had happened in my life that what the Bahamas gave me was a time for me to reconnect, to really understand what was going on, to let go. I did a lot of release, let go. I did burning on the beach. I did a lot of rituals that really helped. And it also helped me tap into this new body of work that I am not going to disclose, that I look at these images that I made when I was in the Bahamas, and I said, who took these pictures? It wasn't me. Of course it's me, but it tapped into something. I took care of myself. I looked at my relationship with my art, and it was freaking amazing as to what I'm doing and how it has helped me heal. So I wanted to show a couple of pictures that I did take down there. And here's one. It was just a piece of plywood that was on the ground. And I saw the handprints, and then I saw I didn't see the face. I hope you guys can see the face in the kind of the right corner, right next to the top hand. And I'm like, the more I looked at it, and it was so metaphoric of what was going on in my life, like her face is dripping and like she's peering out. Is she trying to get out? Is she caught in space? There's so many metaphors. And it was truly an image that I have never, ever made before. And then I'm just going to show one more, and then Eve and I are going to start talking right away. I did have levity. I call him Diver Dan, and I actually did a little video on Instagram that I think maybe some of you saw, because I got a lot of people that liked it. So it was kind of fun. But I had to bring levity, because levity is really a wonderful thing in art, because sometimes we take ourselves way too seriously. I know I'm very much a product of that. So Diver Dan really helped me laugh at myself and help me, really get into my process and trust my process, because my creative process was going crazy and off the charts in the Bahamas, and I just trusted it. So anyway, so I'm going to bring on Eva, and we're going to talk. And you guys, please ask us questions. But she and I have so much to talk about. Every time we get together, it's like a marathon. So thank you for coming back again. We know you're really busy working on new projects and producing a lot of amazing things that hopefully at some time you can share with us. But welcome back.
Awesome. Thanks, Lori. I love getting the opportunity to connect with you on this level. It's so funny because we're so far away, but I just feel like we're in the same room when we have these conversations, and it's exciting, and I know that in Connecticut, you're buried under like several feet of snow, and here in Arizona, it's balmy and sunny and beautiful. So we're in two different worlds, but I feel like we're in the same room, and so I'm so happy to share this space with you and with everybody else. So, gosh, I mean, we're talking today about our relationships with our art, and I feel like in the month of February, we all have to talk about relationships all the time, because Valentine's Day has hijacked the entire month. And so we have to think about the idea of relationships. And when I think about Valentine's, I think about love and what that means and what the deeper implications are outside of the Hallmark card world of Valentine's Day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's also a time for new beginnings. And I think that love is really, I think we really need to love ourselves. And I think we need to do that soul work. And sometimes we look so outside of ourselves for love and for inspiration, where really everything we need is already inside of us. Here's another metaphor with Valentine's Day is that we go out to buy gems for other people. What about the gems inside of us?
No, it's a good one. That's so good.
Yeah. So, tell us about, you're a photographer, you're a creative person. How has your relationship with yourself helped you with your relationship with your art?
Oh, gosh, I feel like there is no separation between my relationship with myself and my relationship with my art. I feel like the times that I am the most creative and the most tapped in and the most driven as an artist are the times when I'm the most connected with myself, my true self. Because I feel like at the core of each and every one of us is that creative, is that artist, is that image maker. And I feel like if we're connecting with that, we're honoring that. And if we're honoring that, then we're really growing from the most essential part of ourselves.
Right. But, and last time when you were on, we talked about giving ourselves permission. Mm-hmm. I think that's a big piece, too, is that we don't know how to give ourselves permission to connect with that. And to, it's the thing about that, you and I talk a lot about the creative process. It's crazy. It's wacky. There's no formula. And we have to trust it, and we have to give ourselves permission and have faith and trust that it all works out. You know, sometimes we come up with ideas and we don't know where it's going to take us. You know, I love that quote that you shared with me earlier about the green light. Can you share that now?
Oh, it's so good. So I was working with my friend Matt on some branding stuff for my new company, and we were talking about the idea of what it is to be creative, like to be a creative and to be creatively driven, and like to come from a place that isn't necessarily so logical and so linear. And he shared with me something that he saw in an interview with David Lynch, who is as dedicated to his own creativity as anybody. And David Lynch talks about that as creatives, we have to learn to follow the green lights. And I think that is one of the biggest things, where there isn't like a tidy roadmap, a tidy path laid out for us. Like, oh, well, if you want to make really lovely images, you just follow these simple steps, A, B, C, and D. We don't get that. We don't necessarily have that luxury. But we do have the luxury of being able to turn on a dime and to follow like the next best path. And so, you know, I always think about this, like when I'm in the city and I'm like taking left turns and right turns, and you just, you know, cross the street when the crosswalk tells you to, and you just follow those green lights. And we learn to listen to that, and we learn to be receptive to the green lights in our lives. And then as artists, we learn to follow those paths, because that's where the next inspiration lies.
Mm-hmm. And that's something we can't learn in a book, and we're not really taught that in schools, because it's so esoteric. Like, we know 2 + 2 = 4. How can we say, okay, you take that green light and that green light, and that will get you someplace? And sometimes, and the other thing sometimes is that, you know, and I work with this woman I love, and she's one of my Skype students, and it's like, you know, she's getting kind of frustrated because she's not producing art. And really what she's doing is she's working on inner love, those gems, and working on herself in order to give a safe place for this creativity to come up. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it doesn't, you know, we are such a result-oriented society and culture. Like, okay, well, what do you have to prove? You know, you went away, well, let me see the work. And sometimes the work is inner and it's not supposed to be shown.
Right.
And it's very hard to trust something that is as ambiguous as that is. And especially in a culture that doesn't, we like the 2 + 2 = 4. There's a formula. There's no formula with creativity.
Mm-mm. No, it's limitless. Mm-hmm. And because it's so expansive and so limitless, it's impossible for us to measure.
Right.
It's Liz is writing in on the chat, and she just calls it being in the zone, and it's this juicy feeling. I always think about this. I notice this all the time. I've been trying to cultivate my yoga practice. Wait, let me retract that statement. I'm cultivating a yoga practice in my life, which is huge for me, you know, and it's like I always want to find like the hottest, strongest, most vinyasa, like powerful flow class that I can find, you know, to be a part of my yoga, because it forces me into the zone, right? And so like I'll be in yoga, or like I'll be in like a rhythm of writing, and then all of a sudden, tell me, I know this happens to you, like you'll be like, oh my God, I'm so in the zone. And then at the moment you become aware of it, you realize you've snapped yourself out of the zone. And like, because you're observing it, and you're like, oh, I'm like totally meditating right now. I'm totally in the flow of things. And then in that instant, like you're out of it. It's like we just have to trust ourselves to relax into that process and to relish in like the richness of the creative process, because in that we're relying and sinking down into the core of ourselves. It's right. It's when we're becoming our truest self, and we're acting from our most whole, truest place.
Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, that's a really good point. And I think it's about that relationship. Like, you make time to do yoga, you're aware of this. But, you know, if we had a new relationship, we would spend a lot of time with it, right? Because we cultivate it, we'd understand it. But we don't necessarily do that with ourselves.
No. And I don't know why it's so hard for us to give ourselves permission. Like, at what point did we separate from ourselves, or were we told that we needed to be separate from ourselves, that we spend so much of our time and our lives and our energy getting back to ourselves and cultivating that relationship with our art?
Right. And you know, it's funny, Liz said also it's the monkey mind. instead of the wise mind, which is very true, because we go places. It's like you being pulled out of the vinyasa. It's you pulled away from that spiritual or that flow that's going on, and it's a muscle. It's no different than when we talk about creativity as a muscle. We have to have a structure around our creativity. We have to have a structure around our process, because when we do, then we can let it go. Then we can let it sing. Then we can let it, play out. So, I mean, that's really, really important. But it's hard. And it's hard too, because, you come on and you listen to even and me talk about this. And we do this in our lives. We're not always perfect. I mean, a lot of the time, things don't work. But we also have rituals that we have created in order to have touchstones back to it. Like, I don't want to betray a priviness that you just said about that bar that's over your computer now. You have that physical bar that you. Right? but it's true, because when you need it. So why don't you explain what it is, and then I'll talk about more why it's so important.
It's so funny. So I work from home, right? It's kind of the nature of the beast, right? I spend a lot of time doing computer stuff and creative work on the computer, and a lot of just connecting with people who are all over the world right now, which is really cool. But I do it from my desk, and I've got this big sprawling drawing table for a desk, but I hung up a pull-up bar just to the side of the desk, because I get so distracted. I'm good at working for about 4 minutes at a time. And then I'm training myself that every time I'm distracted or spacing out or not focusing, I get up and I do 2 pull-ups, because I can always do 2 pull-ups. Can't always do 3, definitely can't do 5, but I can always do 2. So I go and crank out 2 pull-ups. And I've been noticing in the last couple weeks how sore my traps are, which one means I'm getting distracted a lot, but at least I'm redirecting that sort of wild energy into something good and something strong and something refocusing.
Yeah, and you're interrupting that cycle. But what's really, and I'm so glad you're doing this, you're reframing your work. We have a tendency to, I've talked about this, Keith Carter talked about this in the class that I took with him, about we live at the level of our language. So when we say, oh, I can't do this, or I'm not good enough, or, you were reframing things, and that makes such a difference. And it's just a subtle shift, and you can feel it in your body. I can't do this. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to make some time to work on this. It's just little words. And I know when I teach, my students tell me what they're going to do and what they're not by their photographs, because you can read, they're such mirrors into their world, but also what they say they can and can't do. So that and we can interrupt. So, when Liz talks about the monkey mind, it's also, we have old patterns that are hard to change, but we can interrupt them, and we can change them, and we can make it, and then we can have, again, it's all about relationships. It's relationships with our words. It's relationship with our creative process. It's relationship with a loved one. It's all about relationships, and art is no different. Art is kind of like the voice behind all of that. And I think being creatives, we are so lucky, because we know I know that I'm given the opportunity to do things differently and to work things out in my life through my art. I mean, I healed as quickly as I did with my foot, and, letting go a lot of things, and, also just the grieving, because of my creativity and my art. And it is a relationship, and that's another point, is that, we both have relationships, in that if we don't put time into it, we don't cultivate it, it's not going to go anywhere. So why should our art be any different? So if we can look at that as a metaphor, I mean, that's pretty brilliant.
Right. Yeah, it's huge. I think having the willingness to do that, I feel like, as far as being an artist goes, I feel like everybody has that artistic core. We're all an artist on some level, whether you're a photographer or a writer or a painter,
Absolutely.
or a mother or a teacher or an accountant. Like there's something truly creative and truly artistic about the core of your being.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we're all wired differently in our willingness and our aptitude to pursue our art.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that, you know, they always say like, oh, you know, I'm not artistic, I can't draw. When I say they, I think of like students that I've worked with in the past. Oh, I can't draw, I'm not a natural born artist. It's like, I think everybody's a natural born artist, but cultivating the willingness to go to that place where you're going to be very vulnerable, where you have to dig a little bit deeper, where you have to kind of tear yourself open. Like you say, it's like a muscle. You have to stretch it. You have to rip those fibers in order for them to grow back stronger. And we have to be willing to do that. And that is something that we have to dedicate ourselves to, because that is
right.
That is becoming complete. That is becoming our truest artistic selves.
Right. And you've got, and that's true, because, you know, and we hear it. Now, Gary just wrote, and Gary has said this before, it's like, you know, we have a tribe when we're at a workshop, but then we go home. And it's hard to carve that time out. It's hard to give that permission. And, you know, and then one of the things he just said, he said staying in the present moment is so key for him. And that's why we do meditations every time that I do Tea with Lori. And I do it at workshops, because it gets us into the present. It gets our monkey mind to shut down a little bit. But we have to make it a priority, because if we don't, nobody else is going to do it for us. And if we don't, then, you know, other people have demands. You know, we have kids, we have spouses, we have relationships that, you know, people want to do things with. So we have to make it a priority. And, you know, again, it's what is the ritual? You know, you go to yoga. You know, Gary's saying is to stay in the present moment. You know, it's all this stuff. What works for us? And then do it every day. Now, you know, the touchstone for me in the Bahamas was getting up really early every morning and going to the sunrise, because it really puts perspective on things. You know, when this thing that is so bigger than us and so spiritual. And so now I'm home and we're in the middle of this, you know, almost blizzard up here. And it's like, how do you reconnect to it? So now I'm doing a ritual every morning. And I feel like if I don't do that, I will lose that momentum that I have with my creativity.
Yeah, that's the dedication. That's the practice there. You know, I feel like, God, it really is. You have to show up for it. You have to work like a rented mule sometimes at this point. I mean, I feel like I wake up in the morning, I make a cup of coffee. That's my ritual, right? I think we talked about this last time. I was like thinking to myself, I don't have any rituals except for coffee in the morning. And so I get up in the morning, I make a cup of coffee, I write in my journal. I get up just after the sunrise. It's usually a, you know, a race to the end, who's going to get up first. And it's like I sit there, I soak in those early morning lights, and as soon as my pen hits the paper, my day starts rolling and the creative juices start flowing. And I feel like for me, it's like you settle into that marathon rhythm. You know what I mean? It's like there's times when the running feels really great, and there's times when it hurts really bad, and there's times when you're fighting through something, and there's times when you're in total bliss. And whatever it is, you know, you just got to ride it all the way through your day after day, every single day, and fight for something deeper, and look for something deeper, and relax into something deeper. And it takes all of those efforts in different ways in order to get to the true core of who we are, to get into that creative center, and to really find our art.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like peeling back layers too. And let me ask you something. And it's a muscle. The more you do it, the easier it gets. It becomes non-negotiable. And do you feel like I feel this? If I am not working on my art or connecting, it doesn't necessarily have to be every day, but okay, so I was non-weight bearing with my foot being broken for 7 weeks. I didn't shoot. I didn't have energy to do anything. I felt I was betraying myself because I was not creating.
Right.
And so, you know, I had to come to terms with it, saying, okay, well, this is the feelings that I'm having. I journaled a lot. I wrote a lot. But so what I knew is that once I was healed and I could start walking, I'd come out of that state running, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to trust that this was part of the creative process. Maybe I had to get more into a vulnerable space, whatever that is. So sometimes it doesn't look the way we want it to, but what are your touchstones? You know, Eva, you just told us a few. What are your touchstones? And I hope some people in live chat would maybe, Gary already told us a couple things. What are your touchstones to stay connected to your relationship with your art?
Hmm.
You know, I mean, I think that really kind of breaks it down.
By touchstones, I'm interpreting that as like, how can I know in my day-to-day life that I'm doing my art? Like, is that what you mean by touchstones?
I mean touchstones like, that, but also, part of it's your ritual, having your coffee. You know, it's what do we do? It's maybe picking up the camera. It's maybe looking at one photograph or just taking a quote. Like I try to pull a quote every day because that just it's like a pivotal thing. It shifts my energy. So what are touchstones for us? I mean, with politics now, I mean, it's so much distraction. So what are our touchstones to go back to what's really vital and, a lifeline to our creativity? So that could look differently for everybody.
Right. Gosh, I feel like that's such a I love that concept. I love that concept that like I could look at my like little notebook at the end of the day and I could be like, okay, check, I did this, 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 and this, which means I did my art today. I did my practice. I did my work. I don't know that I have a list like that, but I kind of want to cultivate that now, hearing you say that. Like, it makes me think like, okay, like how much time did I spend working on my, day work event job, as opposed to how much time did I spend working on my journaling, on my, I feel like I'm in such a place right now where I have so many things going on so many different levels. I can look back at the end of the day and be like, oh my God, I did so many things. I was so busy. And then I feel like, what did I really do? Like, what did I really do artistically? Like, did I really put some energy into my new company? Because that's my creative process right now. Like, that's where my art and my energy is going. And if I didn't, so I guess that would be my touchstone.
Yeah, and it's like feedback. Like if you worked with a coach, you'd have feedback, or it's like, and I think that's really great is that we look at, okay, I spent 3 hours today on the phone, and how much time making art or doing something creative, it's like so that's feedback too, is so we almost have to analyze it. And this is what I find creatives don't always do, is they don't realize that, again, you have to have a structure around your creativity. It's not going to happen magically. I have students that were like, well, I can't get anything done. I'm like, well, what's your structure? You can get your kids out the door with their lunches made for school, but you can't put a structure on your creativity. It's like, for some reason, there's a disconnect there. And, it's going to be different for everyone. And that's the difference, is that there's, what works, like something that works for me now, maybe not will work for me in the summer. My lifestyle changes when I start traveling a lot and teaching. So, but it's also excavating. Like we excavate. And again, we have to, we know that relationships require energy, time, commitment. So why is our art any less important?
So true. I was just thinking about that idea of, I know that I'm in a good relationship because it feels good, and the kind of work and effort that I put into my relationship with my significant other feels good, and it feels positive, and it feels reciprocal. Yeah. And I feel like I want to have that same kind of positive relationship with my art, that I put energy into it in a way that nurtures me, and that the work that I'm putting into it, the struggle, the challenge, the racking my brain, then the result becomes reciprocal and it gives back to me in a positive way. Just like, you know, with my wonderful relationship, it's like I put energy into it, he puts energy into it, it becomes something greater. Same thing with my art. I put energy into it, art meets me halfway, and it becomes greater than the sum of the parts.
Yeah, that's a really good metaphor. And I loved how you used the word nurturing. And sometimes, especially as women, we think we just have to nurture everyone else. It's really important for us to nurture things that will bring nurture back to us. So, yeah. And I think if we could just boil it down, like this is a relationship, and with a relationship, it's a commitment. You know, most of you that have taken classes with me know that I talk about photography as being one of my longest relationships. And it's like any relationship. There's good, there's bad, there's ugly. There's times that I wanted to divorce it when Kodak stopped making infrared film. You know, there's times where I was done, you know, and we have to just, you know, kind of go through that, and that's natural. But there's times that I just need to commit to it, and that's my priority. So it's going to be, but I think it's something that's really important for people to look at. And, you know, I hope at some point that you and I create a class on helping people figure out how to do that, because there is a necessity for a structure around it. Because you can't just go out and say, tomorrow I'm going to have an exhibit at the Museum of Modern Art. It doesn't work like that. Or tomorrow I'm going to find the man of my dreams, but I'm going to stay home all day.
Right.
You know,
you have to put the work in. You have to put the work in.
Yeah. But with that said, it may sound daunting, but it's really, really exciting. It's really exciting. I mean, you know, and every day something new can happen. And, you know, and you know, Gary just wrote about how trusting his eye. The more we trust, I mean, I really trust my creative process. I think it's quirky. I think it's like, I mean, I'll go in to do a shoot and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to tell my model? I have no idea. And like I start freaking out, and I'm just saying, okay, take a deep breath. And the universe will let it happen, because I open up and I let it come in and I trust it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the process. We talked about that last time quite a bit, was that idea of like being in that place of kind of unknown and that place of uncertainty, not really knowing whether to trust yourself. And I feel like that's that leap of faith, right? Like we have to just be willing to go there, to take that next step, and to open ourselves up and be like, you know, all the right things are going to come right out of me. As long as we're willing to be vulnerable, to open ourselves up, to just truly be ourselves. I mean, God, it's so easy to be in this world of facades. It's so easy to put on, like, you know, the Eva that I want the world to see. But what the world wants to see is who we really are. You know, keep boundaries, keep safe spaces, keep the things tucked in that you need to keep tucked in, but really show yourself to the world. I mean,
and to yourself.
And to yourself, right? That is a really good point.
Yeah. And I think when you do, I think sometimes we put so much pressure, like we have to have, you know, I was talking to somebody yesterday about, you know, they just came back from a trip and everybody wanted to see their photographs. And I'm like, well, no, and then they get disappointed because there's nothing there. And people don't realize, you've got to say to them, this is what I gleaned from this. It was like, it was a nurturing thing. You know, it doesn't always have to be a product. We're in a product-oriented society. I know my family members are like, well, are you making a lot of money? Then you're successful. To me, that's not what it's about. I'm successful if I'm in my flow, I'm not judging it, and I'm not in a perfectionist mode, which are killers for creativity, but I have faith and trust. And you said it, leap of faith. Mm-hmm. It's a leap of faith, because, you know, it's not like, if I want to go to the store, I know I got to get in the car, I got to turn right, I got to do this, and that. That's not how creativity works. So trust it and leap. And also, that's why we do Tea with Lori and the Visual Visionaries, is that we need a tribe of like-minded people to help support that, because a lot of people they're not tapped into their creativity, so they're not in this flow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway. Whoa, you know, you and I could just talk on forever.
I love it. I love it. It's like the highlight of my week.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just a treat. It's such a treat.
Thank you.
I'm getting so excited to teach with you this summer, Lori. I'm so excited to come back to Connecticut. I try and get back. I'm from Connecticut originally. I live in Arizona now. And I didn't make it back last summer. And I always feel like something is incomplete unless I come back to the Northeast during the summertime. And so I'm really excited that a piece of that is going to be collaborating on the Between Image workshop with you this summer. It's going to be really, really fabulous. And I'm so excited to take image making into those rich Connecticut hills and dig down into the heart of that nature. I feel like there's something so special about the natural wild places in the Northeast because everything is so managed and so much of the land is owned. And because it's the earliest part of the country to be settled, it has this sort of refinement. But what I love about it is that the wildness creeps through. Like the reckless bits are there between the tidy lines of the little colonial houses. And I'm really excited to get into some really amazing landscapes and to some really amazing reconcepting of some of like the images that I've been working on, and really to work with people in a place that is so near and dear to my heart. I'm just so looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be amazing, and I think it's going to be a lot of things will be revealed for people. And you're right, there's such a richness here of age and history and newness and wildness. So I think it's going to be very special. And that's July 14th through 16th. We still have an early bird registration through the 28th of this month of $100 off. You can go onto my website at LoriKlein.com and see more information. Or if you're interested and you want to talk to either me or Eva, just let us know and we can tell you more about it. It's a small group, so it makes it much more intimate, and the two of us have amazing things planned, so it's going to be really, really great. I want to thank you so much for being with us tonight. Anyone have any questions that anybody would like to ask? Please, we'll have a couple more minutes still to do that. The photographs that I showed before were done with a Lens Baby, and I thought if some of you are interested in Lens Babies, I have a code which is just W Klein, and you get a discount. And all you have to do is go to Lens Baby website and use my code. I don't remember what the discount is, but I know it's pretty good. And I've had so much fun with the Lens Baby. I hate to admit this, but I did not bring my infrared camera with me to the Bahamas. I brought my iPhone and I brought my 6D and 2 Lens Babies, so it was really great. Also, I'm getting ready to do master classes. I'm not going to tell you too much about it. I'm just so excited. James and I sat down yesterday and started putting them together, and it's going to be like cooking classes with me, but for photography and creativity. So stay tuned for more of that. Also, I wanted to let you know that I'm going to be revamping and recreating Tea with Lori, and Eva's going to be a big part of that. It's probably going to be, there are going to be a lot of changes. We're really excited. So we both are trusting our relationship with each other and our creative process. And I think it's going to be something that's really profound and very exciting. Also, the workshops coming up. I'm sorry, this is last month's with Tea with Lori. So I have not scheduled one for next month yet because I'm not sure how it's going to look, but I will keep in touch with you. So in April, I'm teaching an infrared class in Providence, Rhode Island. It's going to be a small group. It's going to be really wonderful. Iceland, I think, I'm still playing with it as to whether we're going to get it all together. It may have to wait a year. Capturing Creativity is with a writer, my friend Julia Strayer, and it's going to be really phenomenal, and it's at Peters Valley. It's a weekend class. The Female Form in Maine Landscape, it's not going to be an infrared class this year. It's just going to basically be the nude and the female form. Maine Photographic Workshops is a very special place. And then, of course, the Between Image workshop with Eva and I I'm just so excited about that one. Through a Glass Darkly, that class fills up really quickly at Peters Valley, so if that's something you're interested in, you should check that out. The Dude Ranch is going to be really fun. It's in Creede, Colorado. It's going to be infrared and non-infrared and horseback riding if you want to, and just going to magnificent areas with models and doing nature photography. I don't know if most of you know this, but Santa Fe Photographic Workshops has asked me to go to Mexico to teach my infrared class, and that's September 27th through October 2nd. I'm very excited about that. And then I've been invited to a new place. It's a camp. It's called Firefly Institute, and it's in Sonoma, California, and that's October 12th to 14th. They only accept 50 campers. It's all women. So anyway, and then Weekends with Lori will be announced soon, and I am doing I have a few spaces for one-on-one Skype mentorships. So if you're interested, let us know. I just really love having Eva. I mean, it's just magical when we get together. I really love the time and your energy and your commitment and how you inspire people in ways that, honestly, honey, I don't even think you realize.
You're so sweet. Well, it's an honor and a pleasure. I mean, it really means so much to me to have the great connection that we have and to sort of watch our own sort of creative collaboration develop. It's a blast.
And I think it's just the beginning, you know?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, and we trust it, so that's really cool. So I'm going to leave you with my last quote for the day, which is, "Every artist dips his brush in his own soul and paints his own nature into his pictures." Great quote, right? So thank you, James, for being at the helm again tonight. Thank you, Eva. Thank you all for coming, and can't wait to be in touch with our new recreated Tea with Lori. Okay, see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye, honey.